if you are a type 2 diabetic in India today, you aren't truly a patient. You are a high yield, recurring revenue stream for an industry that truly has no incentive to get you well. You are making someone else a lot of profit.
That's a heavy start, Mugdha. But from a systems perspective, it's true. Recent headlines from the Times of India and Care Insurance are sobering. 101 million diabetes and 136 million in the pre-diabetic waiting room. This is more crowded than a Mumbai local at 9 a.m. I guess the standard of care is designed for maintenance, not reversing the diabetes.
Exactly. And while it is a staggering number, Sanskruti, what's more alarming is the mindset that people have around this. Okay. It's the literally the only business where staying exactly the same while you're getting slightly worse is billed as a clinical success. Okay. So we've normalized biological failure.
Welcome to Unhealthcare. I am Sanskriti, your host, and this is Mugdha Pradhan, our visionary authority and iThrive CEO. Today, we are explaining why your managed diabetes is like the worst strategy ever.
Absolutely, Sanskruti. And thanks for reminding everyone that currently the system just manages diabetes. Okay. So like think of a boat that has a lot of holes in it. And it's filling up with water because there are so many holes. So it's filling up with water. Now the current system of managing diabetes, which is like give metformin, give this medicine, give glycomet, give this insulin injection, is like you're taking a chota sa mug and emptying the boat from top. Okay, so the boat is filling from bottom, but you're taking one chotu sa mug and or a glass and then you're just throwing that water out. It will look like, oh, the water is becoming lesser, but what is truly happening is you've not plugged the holes. So you're constantly trying to empty the water out, but the boat is always filling from bottom, and that is how diabetes is dealt with in today's times. You're just emptying from the top without understanding what is causing this leak. And when I say leak, basically everyone's focusing on diabetes from the blood sugar perspective. That leak is all this extra blood sugar floating around in your bloodstream, which you're trying to suppress with medications. That is just pure management. You're not fixing the root cause, which is the holes in your boat. And it's a bad strategy. Like anyone looking at that person in that boat will be like, Kya chal raha hai bhai? But yeah, that's what is being done in conventional healthcare now.
It's quite sad. The reality is quite sad, I must say.
Yeah, sad, exactly. And for the high performer, this kind of management is a losing strategy. Okay. And what we want to talk about today is reversal.
Mugdar audience, the high performers, the decision makers, they hate the bad data. And yet, the way we track diabetes is fundamentally flawed.
Actually, na Sanskruti, it's a dashboard error. So, what happens is most people are told to watch their HbA1c. Even now, like yesterday, I had a call with a client and he was like, what about HbA1c? And I told him this one thing, that it's a lagging indicator, right? It's historical data. It's not really telling me that my company could be in debt right now because I was really bad at financial management. So what is happening today, HbA1c is not giving you that information. It's just past 3 months ka data ki over the last 3 months your blood sugar has been this much. Why is it happening? What is causing it? What is causing that increase? Or why is it still beyond optimal ranges? That you can't make out. And that measurement mechanism itself is flawed. Even to this date, like the high performers that you spoke of, these are all intelligent, smart people, right? Like they have built businesses, they have scaled massively, they are in leadership positions, they're doing all of these things. But because they have not been informed by their doctors or their practitioners, all that they track is HbA1c. And then when it becomes from 6.2 to 6.1, they're very happy. When it becomes from 6.1 to 7, they're like, oh, bad gaya. They don't know what their blood sugar, what drama and dance their blood sugar is doing in their body for the last 3 months. So it's a very bad way of measuring how your diabetes is being managed.
So by the time the HbA1c moves, the damage is already done.
Absolutely. So, and it's not even like the damage is done now. It's years ago. Okay. And the real villain here is something called as hyperinsulinemia or insulin resistance, which is elevated insulin levels that most of your doctors aren't even testing. Now, your doctor is checking your HbA1c. I explained it's a lagging indicator. But the problem is by the time it is moving up, you have been in what I call as metabolic debt for years, okay? And then giving medicines to suppress your sugar without fixing the underlying insulin resistance is like a messenger is coming to you with a message, but you're just shooting the messenger. Blood sugar is high, shoot, 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 and more drugs going into the system, okay? So it's a really bad way of doing this.
I think it's a classic case of misallocated resources. More medicines is not the solution. So, what are the top 3 tests that you would recommend?
Lovely question. So, insulin fasting and postprandial, which is post meal, C peptide fasting, and blood sugar fasting and post meal. And I'll tell you, like, if like later we'll talk about why these 3 tests are important, but these are the 3 I would recommend first.
Okay, so let's talk about insulin resistance and how that causes diabetes.
So this is something that most conventional medicine practitioners also fail to remember. I'm sure they would have been taught this. But the thing is, when glucose comes into your body from food, okay, you've eaten, let's say, a banana or Maggie, or you've drunk a juice, or you've eaten a fruit, whatever the source of carbs, it's getting digested in your stomach and it's coming into your body. Now, it gets broken down into something called as glucose. This glucose has to enter a cell so that it can be used for creating energy. What takes glucose inside the cell is insulin, okay? So think of glucose like a passenger, and insulin is the car in which the passenger is traveling. Assume that the passenger is going from Pune to Mumbai. Pune is your small intestine, and Mumbai is your cell. Finally, where energy is going to be utilized, because Mumbai is so high energy anyway, right? I don't know why Mumbai is coming so many times from the local train to my example of glucose, but all right. Now, this glucose has to travel all the way up to Mumbai. Insulin is the car in which it's going. Normally, when the roads are clear, which means when your metabolism is working well, the car goes, glucose gets off at Mumbai, glucose enters the cell. Suppose at Lonavala there is a cave in, the tunnel is blocked, or there's a massive traffic jam. Something has happened and now the car can't go ahead. Now, glucose is stuck in Lonavala.
Yes.
Similarly, more and more cars come with more and more glucose molecules. All of them are coming and getting stuck there. So now you have a massive jam, a traffic jam of a lot of insulin with a lot of glucose floating around. These passengers are getting irritated. They're getting out of the car. They're trying to solve the traffic crisis themselves. Mumbai is deprived of the passengers. No one is there to do the work. Okay, so your cell doesn't have glucose because it's all stuck before it can enter the cell itself. What the body does in this scenario is it will send more insulin. Ki, oh, glucose is floating around, let me send more insulin to push it in. So more cars come, but the road is jammed. So where are the cars going to go? They're going to add to the traffic jam. So insulin resistance is like that the glucose molecule can't enter the cell, body sending more insulin to push it inside, but that insulin can't enter the cell at all. Now, the question to ask is, why is all of this happening? Why is this traffic jam happening, or why can't the insulin enter? Basically, the cells become resistant to insulin. That's what is insulin resistance. Okay, so they become like rigid and inflamed because more insulin is creating more inflammation. And to me, like, actually, when I look at it anatomically, also they look gummy. Like, I call it like biological resin. Okay, it's become rigid, inflamed, sticky, and nothing can go inside.
That's a lovely example, Mugdha. But biological resin. So the cell is basically sticky.
Yep, it's literally stuck. And how can you open something that is stuck together, right? So this extra insulin is knocking and knocking and knocking, but the door is not opening, and the system's answer is knock louder, so more insulin. And that extra insulin is not fixing the stickiness. It is just creating more resistance, which increases inflammation, which accelerates aging. And I mean, that's the body's system, right? But if you're not addressing this, how does that even make sense? You're just trying to suppress all this noise. And at iThrive, we don't manage this noise. What we do is we focus on reversing whatever is causing this inflammation and this stickiness and everything. And we bring back what we call as membrane fluidity. So the roads are open and glucose can go in. That's what we focus on, and that's what everyone should be focusing on.
So let's get down to the basics of diabetes audit. So if a CEO sees 10% drop in the efficiency, they don't wait for the bankruptcy to investigate. But in healthcare, we wait for the diagnosis before we look at the data.
And even with the diagnosis, no one's really thinking of reversing it. Everyone is just using pills to manage the disease and prolong the person's suffering, right? Like that's why we have the staggering number of diabetics, which you mentioned earlier. Like if the pills worked, there would be no diabetics left. But year on year, India has become the diabetes capital of the world. And the number of pre diabetics, the number of diabetics is increasing. So the pills don't work.
How does the diabetic then check if their medications are working or curing them?
All right. So here is a quick DIY test, okay? Now, you don't even need to spend on this. Go home. If you've been a diabetic for 10 years or if your parents have been diabetics for 10 years, go home and just check their files. What you would notice is initially when the diabetes was diagnosed, blood sugar was elevated, they were given one pill at a low dose. It worked for a few days. After that, suddenly the blood sugar went up again. So now the dosage increased. It worked for a few days. Now, suddenly, after some days, the dosage increased again. Now, instead of one pill, they're on two pills. Now, you keep checking the trajectory of that disease. You will see that the files have gotten thicker, number of medications have increased, but the diabetes is still there in the body. And that is going to tell you exactly whether your pills are working for you or not.
If you're right, and I think you are, what should a person really do to reverse diabetes?
You mean other than coming to iThrive?
Subtle pitch, guys, subtle pitch.
So here are 5 simple tips, okay, to get your blood sugar in range, starting with your diet. So go protein forward. What that means is make sure you're getting at least 1 gram per kg of body weight of protein in through your diet.
Okay.
Second, keep your carbs below 100 grams or lesser. Use ghee or butter instead of vegetable oils because seed oils are a true culprit when it comes to diabetes and insulin resistance. And we've actually published a white paper on this. There's a case study on this. You can go read about that deeply. Sleep for at least 8 hours and ideally go to bed by 10 p.m. because your duration of sleep and the time of your sleep also has a role to play in your blood sugar management. Hydrate well, filtered water with minerals added back, at least 2 liters per day. That will help move the gunk out. And move, guys. We were meant to move, okay? We are not trees to be stuck in a spot. The more you move, the more your insulin sensitivity goes up, which means your blood sugar management becomes better. 5, we look for the real culprit in this audit, which is your hyperinsulinemia or insulin resistance. We run something called as the fasting and postprandial insulin test along with glucose to calculate something little geeky, but it's called as HOMA-IR, Homeostatic Model of Assessment for Insulin Resistance. It's a ratio along with C-peptide insulin that helps us get to the point.
Okay, guys, so now you know what you have to do for your diabetes. So explain to a lay person, why do I care about this ratio?
See, if you're a CEO, high performer, you understand that efficiency is what really matters. Okay, so this is all about efficiency. Now, if your blood sugar is maybe 95, 100, but your insulin levels are 25, 30, 40, 50, what it means is to maintain even this 90, 95 blood sugar level, your body has to produce 5 times the insulin is required.
Oh.
That is not a very efficient process, okay? So when the body has to produce so much insulin, it's doing extra work and it's depleting the body. It's like an Indian mother during Diwali. She is doing 100% of the work while the rest of the family is just sitting and chilling on the sofa. Okay, at some point, this Indian mom is going to go on a strike. And that is what really happens with the pancreas over time. It's producing extra insulin. At some point, it just stops producing that much. And then the doctor starts giving you insulin externally to manage this blood sugar. So that ratio is a determinant of how well your body is managing the glucose, and that's where we can create a lot of interventions.
And when the pancreas goes on strike, your doctor gives you more medication.
Exactly. And in fact, in early cases, that strike is what we call as type 2 diabetes. Long-term strike, it becomes type 1 diabetes. We're not talking about that today. And that's why the audit, okay? So when the audit focuses on HOMA-IR, fasting insulin at iThrive, we find what is hidden, what's causing the problem. Now, what is important is there are nutrients that can act as switches to improve this. Okay, so ensuring optimal status of magnesium, chromium, zinc, B vitamins, ALA, these are the minerals that actually lubricate the insulin receptor. Without them, the key won't turn no matter how much insulin you're producing. The oxidative load, if you have a lot of inflammation, if you have a lot of internal stress, oxidative stress, so checking HSCRP, checking ESR, checking homocysteine, checking uric acid, ferritin, these tell us if your metabolic infrastructure is kind of rusting inside out, that it's preventing this insulin from entering. We check your circadian rhythm. Like, you can't really heal a 24-hour biological system, which is what our bodies are, with like just 4 hours of sleep and downtime. Okay, it's gonna crash. Or when you're exposed to artificial lights post sunset, it's not the optimal thing because light has a huge role to play in blood sugar regulation. In fact, this is there in the white paper we published. The amount of research that has gone into showcasing how blue light can increase blood sugar levels post sunset, and why a lot of people are struggling with diabetes because the blue light exposure has increased.
So, what are the consequences of taking the diabetic meds, and at what stake?
And that's actually one of the greatest questions ever asked because no one considers this. Okay. See, what happens is most diabetic medicines might suppress your blood sugar levels, but you continue to take these medicines while you're losing health. And when I say losing health, what I mean is most people who are taking diabetes meds eventually start needing kidney meds. Okay. So, because the kidney is getting overloaded with the excretion, people end up with gut issues, people end up with cognitive issues, people end up with deficiencies. Some people end up gaining weight because these diabetes meds actually cause excess hunger. So, these are the problems of being on meds. And in fact, it's not just about these physical health problems. The worst thing is what I call as is a fragmented state, okay? Like brain fog, nerve pain, and a medicine cabinet that really costs you more than your EMIs.
Medicines, like, are they that expensive?
They are, like, you won't believe me, but in fact, I found this really cool calculator online that you could input at what year you got diagnosed with any disease, and you input that, and then you input the medications you're on, I think, and it'll calculate and tell you what is the cost of living with that disease and with the medications over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It's a pretty amazing. I can't remember the name. Maybe we'll put it in the whatever the
Description box. Yeah.
but you can really check how expensive managing your diabetes with medications is going to be for you because it's not curing it anyway. You'll just need more and more meds over time.
I think that's very sad. I mean, people, it's like losing a battle. They're losing their health also. Their money bhi ja raha hai. So that it's a sad reality altogether.
It is, and unfortunately, not enough people are getting educated about how to change that circumstance, right? Like, you can. So the point is, it's just 3 months of an intervention, and you can reverse diabetes. You really can. And I'm not speaking of this like just because I'm like, I want to state a hypothesis, right? Like, this has been proven over and again. In fact, the case study that we published, and we have a lot of research papers that have gotten published in journals also. 3 months, like 10 years of living with the disease, losing health, losing money, becoming like Garib Kangal and all of that. And instead of that, doing an intervention for 3 months with the right knowledge, and the disease goes.
I mean, that's magic.
It is, right?
We put together a checklist. The 5 missing markers, these are the numbers that define your metabolic infrastructure. So the list, we'll put it in the description. You go to your lab and stop guessing. If you need help decoding what the numbers mean, reach out to us and we'll be happy to help.
Absolutely. Like, demand the data now. When you have data about your body, then only you can take action. So demand the data, use the checklist that you just spoke about, see where those numbers are. And like you said, anyone doing these tests, if you can't figure out what the numbers mean, reach out to us. We are right here, right? Like, I can list out all our socials for your DM us. But do reach out to us. Don't DM me on my number. I don't like that at all. But we'll help you figure out what that data means so that you can take control of your life. I mean, see, the thing is why I started iThrive and what we do. My vision is to really heal this broken world, okay? We aren't meant to live in this, like, these are broken bodies with fragmented minds and emotional chaos, and we are such powerful beings. Like, we are apparently at the current peak of evolution. It's such a waste to use all that evolutionary potential to doom scroll cat memes or to argue on your WhatsApp family groups, which is a real situation for me right now. But it's a waste now of using all that evolutionary potential to do that. And I mean, fix your body, become the CEO of your own system, become the CEO of your own body because you own it, it's yours. And that's what I really wish for everyone.
So, whatever I've understood through this podcast is that the system is broken, but you don't have to be, because this is Unhealth Care.